Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl, Jasmine, coming at you live to talk about this upcoming new moon in Virgo, which I just yelled about Mars in Gemini and how that is going to rule our lives for so long in a beautiful way if we work with it intentionally. But I also want to tie in how this new moon in Virgo is really going to be a catalyst for what we recommit to during Mars in Gemini season, especially because, hi, thank you for joining, good morning, especially because they are both Mercury ruled signs. And so this is really a time of, we'll talk about it, but really detoxing the mind and getting intentional with what are our thoughts and our energies building for ourselves. So yes, good morning. I hope you are well if you're watching this live or if you're watching this on the replay. It's your girl, Jasmine Kylene. I think I already did all that. But let's talk about this new moon in Virgo. So it's beautiful because we're just now ushering in Virgo season. And I love when we start a season with a major and a potent lunation, because I think it really ushers in the season in a very intentional way. And what's beautiful about this one is that it is making a square with, what is it actually? Let me pull up my notes before I just start talking, honey. It's making an exact square with Mars and Gemini, which is an intense aspect to go into this with. But I do want to say that while that does color in some invitation to not be so impulsive in the decisions that we're making right now, overall, what this transit means for us is really an opportunity for recommitment, reassessment, and it honestly feels a bit like a retrograde, which is beautiful because we are in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde, which both of these signs, Virgo and Gemini, are ruled by Mercury. So there's an emphasis on the mind right now. Thank you for joining. There's an emphasis on the mind and the lives that we are building with our thoughts. So I'll get into that, but I do want to say that Virgos, if you know anything about Virgo energy, you know that it's all about cleanliness and decluttering and sort of living a life that is as polished as possible, which the shadow aspect of that can be living a life that's polished for the sake of people's perspective. But the beautiful part of it is living a life that's clean so that you breathe easier and that you know where everything is and that you aren't overwhelmed by clutter and mess. And so with this transit really comes the opportunity to look at what area of my life feels messy right now? What area of my life feels heavy? What area of my life am I giving too much energy to? Where are there too many energy drainers? Where can I intentionally declutter my life? And this is obviously going to show up individually for you relative to where Virgo is in your chart. But I do want to say that with so much emphasis on the mind right now, with Mercury playing such a role, you also want to look at like your thoughts and how can you declutter your thoughts a bit. Like I mentioned in the Mars and Gemini video, also how can you build a healthy dialogue with your thoughts and get discerning on like, these are fear-based thoughts that go here and these are heart-based thoughts that I do want to center and feed with affirmation. So yes, an opportunity to reset and recommit. Honestly, if you take anything away from this little talk that we're doing right now, this is what I'm going to be doing. I think this moon is, while we typically manifest with new moons, this one has much more of an element of releasing what's cluttering your life, releasing what's taking too much space, releasing what's taking too much energy, and letting go, not only letting go, but also letting go of what wants to be let go of, what you're holding on to just for the sake of holding on, what already is making very obvious with the universe, or whether the thing itself is making very obvious that no longer wants to live in your life. How can you take this lunation as an opportunity to release that? But yes, because this new moon isn't really for manifesting and more for releasing, what I will say is plant a seed of growth by committing to some sort of 30-day challenge. I think there is no season more fertile for a recommitment to self in a way that where a micro habit or a micro shift will build something macro than Virgo season. So whatever that looks like for you, I've seen a couple people say that they're going to be journaling for 30 days or they're going to be going on walks for 30 days. I haven't quite decided what my 30-day challenge is going to be. I wanted to do a 30-day challenge, funny enough, during Leo season, and then the whole season was just about like being hot and like seeing the world. But I'm glad that we're coming back into such an earth grounded energy where I think there's actually there's an invitation and a desire to do and commit to something, especially something that is a micro shift and micro habit that will build something large for you. Because the thing about earth energy in general, but especially Virgos value, much like Capricorns, things that are long-lasting, things that are sustainable. And so you have to recognize that anything that is long-lasting and that is sustainable is not something that's going to come immediately, nor something that is a product of an immediate shift. It's something that is built through patience and persistence and commitment and a micro habitual shift that you feed every single day. So thank you for joining. So committing to some sort of 30-day challenge, starting with this, oh my God, I just got a full moon notification. Committing to some sort of 30-day challenge, starting with this new moon in Virgo, is going to be, thank you everyone for joining, is going to be like the energy, the universal energy is so supportive of you showing up for something. And when it comes to what you want to show up for in whatever 30-day challenge that you choose to start on this new moon, what I will say is, build it through the lens of what is something that I can do that will nourish my own sense of self-betterment. So it has nothing to do with anything outside of you, nothing to do with how you show up for others. And I think the more that we show up for ourselves, that'll bleed into how we play our roles in community. But really, it's all about how can I make sure that I am feeling more nourished on a physical level, on a spiritual level, on a mental level, on an emotional level. Make some sort of shift that you will come back to every single day for the next 30 days. Starting on the new moon, because I think that will be the most potent way to work with this new moon in Virgo. So yes, for everyone who's joining right now, thank you so much for joining. As an overview, we have a new moon in Virgo coming up. It's gorgeous because it's more introspective and it's more about decluttering the parts of our lives that feel very oversaturated, very overwhelming, very overstimulating, which I'm sure is, I mean, it'll be relative to where Virgo is in your chart, but what I will say is because it's so Mercury ruled, you really also want to be looking at what thoughts are oversaturating my energy and how am I bogging my own auric field down with returning to thoughts or to habits that don't serve me or feed me. And what I will say, what I will say is that starting a 30-day challenge with this new moon is going to be so potent and resonant on how you move into this next season of life, especially because not only do we have Mars and Gemini ruled by Mercury happening, not only do we have this new moon in Virgo, but we're in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde that is going retrograde on the 9th, and everything about this energy is giving retrograde, which is very much about introspection and reassessment and sitting down and thinking, okay, what needs to go, what wants to go, what is taking up too much space, and how can I not only release that, but also commit to some sort of micro habit that in the long run will build something sustainable and long-lasting and nourishing. My Virgo moon. Oh, I love a good Virgo moon, honey. Yes. And it's funny because we were just talking about how you're like returning to work. And I think that's beautiful because that's exactly what this is in terms of like recommitment to what fuels me back and really cutting those loose ends. Like on some like cut the dead ends in your hair, cut the dead ends in your life, like really declutter, like Marie Kondo your life during this moon transit, especially because is Marie Kondo a Virgo? I feel like there's no way she isn't. Yes, declutter those emotions. That's what I'm saying, especially because this is so, yes, Virgo's obviously an earth sign, but because it's so Mercury ruled and it's working alongside this Mars and Gemini energy, there really is this emphasis on our mind and how we are what's cluttering our own lives because we are consistently returning to the same thoughts that aren't serving us, but we built a comfort in because sometimes you can build a comfort in chaos. Do you know the degree that this moon is at? I can tell you right now. Can I tell you right now? Actually, I don't know if I can tell you that right now. Hold on. It is August. Yes, the 27th. I'll have to double check. Bye, my Luminous. But message me and I will give you, I don't have it on I have like this little like moon system. Oh, wait, maybe I do. Damn, maybe I don't. Message me and I'll tell you afterwards. I love a good lunar return. We have 2 Virgo moons in here. I love that. And honestly, if anything, this energy is going to be what you natally feel, which is this commitment to self and this ability to always, no matter what, make sure that the home you have within is decluttered and safe and nurturing. And so we really want to come to a space of not only commitment to releasing, but also what I really want to emphasize is living honestly. I don't think there is enough of an emphasis on how much weight living or feeding any kind of lie in our lives really forces us to carry. And I think also with this moon squaring Mars, there is going to be almost an aggressive recommitment to living honestly. So there may be really harsh conversations or truths that were difficult to get out before that are kind of just spewing out, whether to others or even to yourself. Maybe there's things that you need to admit to yourself that you hadn't been brave enough to do before and now you do. I say all that to say, living in full devotion to honesty is going to be the emphasis of how you move forward during this transit and what you take with this transit with you. I think working with the moon transits and the lunations, I think when you just like journal on it and you work with it for a day and then you move into the next transit without taking any of those lessons into how you move forward is so pointless. But I think what is supposed to be long lasting from this transit not only is how can I in micro ways live a macro experience, but also like how can I just live honestly, and how can I shed so much of the weight that I've been carrying through releasing my truth, through living my truth, through saying a boundary, cutting off a person, no longer feeding a commitment that you've outgrown, especially if your human design is full devotion to honesty, love, the earrings. Thank you so much. I'm feeling very purple. But yes, full devotion to honesty. Also, if you guys are familiar with Mark Groves, he just put out a podcast, I think called Embracing Truth. And it's very centered on that. And it was really important for me to listen to. And it aligns so beautifully with this energy, which is just like, where am I not living honestly? Where am I not being honest with myself and with others in my work? And how can I liberate myself and set myself free and set anyone else involved free by simply being honest? So yes, where are you not living honestly, especially because Mercury retrograde is around the corner. So if you aren't brave enough to make the courageous act of being honest right now, Mercury retrograde will do it for you, babe. And she won't be as gentle or as graceful. So it's just in your best interest to do it now. Virgos are the most honest of the zodiac. Yes, being raised by a Virgo, and I mean literally my mother, but also Beyonce, I have been taught how much easier it is to go through life living radically honest, and that being honest does not always equate to being harsh or mean. I don't understand like harsh truth. Like you can be compassionate and graceful and loving and be honest, and it'll clear up your skin. This new moon is on the 27th. Yes, on the 27th, on Saturday, which is 9 a.m. I believe Eastern Standard Time. So yes. So overall, in summary, this is a beautiful, do y'all hear that? I'm gonna go ahead and let Miss Plane fly by. I'm just gonna yell. Overall, commit to living honestly. Recognize in what areas of your life is there too much clutter, not only because of attachment to things that want to be let go of, but also where are you living dishonestly and thus cluttering up and keeping up with, facade or whatever is being protected by said lie, and how can you liberate yourself and liberate everyone else involved by living honestly and living freely. Do some sort of 30-day challenge, even if for 30 days straight you want to just take a different route to work and make sure that the route is through nature, or you want to journal every single day, or in summer you just want to read a page of a book every single day, or you want to limit your screen time. Just whatever will somehow in a very small way feed something that with longevity will build something so much more sustainable, especially relative to your own self-betterment. Really commit to that and start that this Saturday. Brutally honest, you care more about brutal than actually being honest. Let me read that again. Brutally honest people who care more about being brutal than actually being honest. Yes, and they hide behind the label of like, but I'm just being honest. Like, no, you're just being an asshole. You can be honest and be kind. And so, yeah, just kind, but also unbound, radical honesty is what I think we should really center this transit on. And yeah, Marie Kondoing your life, getting rid of what needs to get rid of. I would also just let this be a physical thing as well, like declutter your space. I wish that I was in my like home so that I could declutter, but it's fine. Also like decluttering your phone, getting rid of old photos, old messages, jewelry that you don't wear, like really like getting rid of things, unfollowing, going on an unfollow spree on Instagram. I've been meaning to do that as well. Just decluttering what needs to go. Asking, the Marie Kondo method is, does this spark joy? So really asking not only what sparks joy, but also like, is this feeding in any way, shape, or form my growth and my evolution? And if it's keeping me stagnant, if it's keeping me safe, if it's keeping me dishonest, dishonesty isn't always that obvious. It's not always just like a blatant lie, but sometimes it's the dilution of a truth. It's the hiding behind, or it's just the ignoring of. And so it's like, yeah, if it's feeding something that's dishonest, how can I set myself free? How can I let it go? Like I said, this mood is more introspective. It's not really for manifesting, but really more so of like an internal inspection of like, what is taking up too much space and too much energetic bandwidth, and how can I just let it go? Scorpio sun, Virgo rising, Aries moon. Yeah, that's the Aries in you. I was thinking about Aries too, because I was like, Aries are ones to be really, really blunt. But I think there's also something to learn from that as well. I pause a lot, and I think before speaking. Yes, thank you for saying that, because I do want to say, with this moon squaring Mars, there will be invitation for impulse, especially when it comes to living this like radical devotion to truth thing that I'm saying. So be intentional with what you say and how you say it and what you do right now. I wouldn't say it's the time for like impulsive action, but rather well marinated on calculated and discerning action. Because squaring Mars is giving very much like, you're right, I'm better than this, I'm gonna block you. And it's like, wait a second, hold on. Can you explain why it's always time for manifestation? I mean, new moons, no matter what, it's a fertile soil for planting seeds. But what I will say is that this is such an invitation to go inward, that it really is more about decluttering and clearing space in order for things to organically enter, rather than like, I'm really feeding this with visualization and wanting, right? So we are manifesting, but through a different sort of output, right? It's not about like, this is what I want, so I'm going to sit and visualize and masturbate to it, but rather like, I no longer want to feed this. I no longer want to live this way. I no longer want to live in this fear or this limiting belief. And so I'm going to let it go. And in that shedding, I invite in room or make space for what actually does want to come in and will actually nourish my self-betterment. And I love you, baby. Okay, well, that's basically the tea. That's the meat. That's the bones. I love you guys so much. I'm so excited about this. I will share on Instagram what I decide my 30-day challenge to be. But if you guys come up with one, please share them with me. And yeah, I know that we'll be doing it together. So yeah, sending you guys all my love. And I'll see you for the next lunar transit. Bye.